Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Estate Living's International Destinations for Immigration Investment Conference. We haven't had many conference webinars this year, online conferences this year, a lot of face-to-face opportunities, but after the end of the year and looking at all of the types of content and information that's been shared this year, we thought it would be a good idea to give you the opportunity to almost travel with us across the world as we look at all the different residency, citizenship, and investment programs that are available to South Africans. How do you become involved? What are your opportunities? What are the costs? Who are the experts? And we're really going to bring that to you today in over 4 sessions. So if I look at the structure of today, each session will focus on a different country. We will bring in the experts. We will chat about Portugal and the UK, Cyprus, an overview of the Caribbean, Europe, and Grenada, Dubai, Mauritius. Post this webinar, we will record, obviously we're recording the whole webinar, but we will break it up into segments which focus on each country so that you can then go back and view the country or information of your choice. And that should give you a really good overview of what's happening within the space at the moment. A little bit of housekeeping before we get going. This webinar is designed for us to be interactive. I received a number of questions prior to the webinar, which we will go through during the course of the morning. So thank you so much for sending those through. But we also have a chat function. If you look at the bottom of your screen, there is a box that says chat. If you click on that, it will open up a little chat screen. If you click on the everybody, so that means that every question that you ask can be seen by everybody who's on the panel, so both the panelists and the attendees, and that will give our team in the background an opportunity to answer your questions in real time if there's something in particular that has drawn your interest during the presentation. We're also going to be running a number of panels throughout the day. These polls are designed for us to just get a little bit of extra information that we can help you make the right decision, or at least guide you to the right person to speak to at the end of the webinar, and so that you can take your immigration or investment journey a little bit further. It's wonderful to have you all. I hope that everybody is having a lovely day. As I said, if you are hit by load shedding or you have to pop out to a meeting, this is being recorded. It will be shared with you, and so you will have access to this valuable information. So let's get the day going. It's a long day ahead of us, and our first focus is a look at Portugal and the UK. We've had so many questions come in around Portugal and the UK, and I don't know if amendments is the right word, but how their golden visa program or citizenship program looks now. So in our research, we met up with the experts within the space, which is Holborn Assets. Romeo and Pavlo are here with us today, and they're really going to be speaking to us about this particular product. Romeo, if I can hand over to you, perhaps you could just introduce yourself, and then we're all kind of self-driving when it comes to our presentation, so please be patient with us as we pop on and flip between presentations. Yeah, let's get going. Thanks, Romeo.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Louise. Good morning, everybody, and thank you for joining us. It's a privilege today to present to all of you, and I'm quite sure that you'll find the interaction with us today very, very informative and valuable. Today, what I'd like to do is introduce to you the company that I am a senior partner in, Holborn Assets. I'm senior partner for KZN for Holborn in South Africa. And I just want to give you a brief overview of our value proposition. Once I'm done with that, I'm going to hand you over to my colleague, Pablo Ostrich, who's the head of our Citizenship by Investment Division and senior partner with Holborn in Dubai. And he's going to give us a comprehensive overview of the Portuguese offering and answer all the questions that you may have relating to the program. But before we do that, briefly, just an overview on Holborn and why people do business with us. So Holborn is an independent wealth advisory, and our focus is to target the best possible financial outcomes for our clients. We were founded in 1998 and off the back of an acquisition from an old mutual business, which was established in the Middle Eastern region to cater for the expat community and expansion of the UAE. But in 1998, Mutual listed it on the London Stock Exchange, and this business wasn't reciprocal to investors, so it was sold, and it was sold to one of the directors of the company, a gentleman by the name of Robert Parker, who's our founder and CEO. The Parker family have run and operated the business over the last 23 years and have done so very, very successfully. We are now the second largest independent wealth advisory globally. We manage just shy of $3 billion worth of assets for our clients in 13 countries and represent about 15,000 clients all over the world. We offer a number of services to our clients, not only Citizenship by Investment, and as you can see on the screen, there are a number of solutions that we are able to assist our clients with. And specifically relating to Citizenship by Investment is the establishment of foreign currency accounts and, of course, the foreign investment allowance applications that are associated with that. Just one second, for some reason I can't move forward. Apologies, there we go. Okay. As I said, at the outset, there's a couple of reasons why people do business with us. The first is our size. Our size enables us to negotiate down administrative charges and asset management charges, which effectively we then pass on to our clients to create further value. We are 100% independent. We're not a tied agent. We're not incentivized to utilize one provider over another. We get paid monetary across the board. It's regulated by law, so it makes no difference to us which provider we use. Our motivation is what's in the best interest of our client and what's going to be the right fit for them to enable them to achieve whatever objectives they've set out to achieve with the resources they have available. We take a lot of pride in our service. We work very differently to your traditional wealth advisory. We interact with our clients on a quarterly basis, providing them with an update on performance, changes in legislation, and of course, getting valuable feedback from our clients, ensuring that we have a client base of informed clients whose objectives reach fruition, very importantly. Now, we've received a number of awards for this, so you don't have to take my word for it. And in addition to that, almost 2,000 positive reviews in terms of our clients' interaction with us. And that's from all over the world, not only Africa. Of course, we take safety and security of our clients' assets very seriously. We are allergic to losing our clients' money. And so we ensure that we perform a rigorous due diligence process on all the providers that we interact with to ensure that our clients are protected, very, very importantly. Finally, Holborn takes education of its advisors very seriously. This is to ensure the best possible advice of the highest standards and according to best practice globally. Because of the fact that we are an international wealth advisory, our education is done through the Chartered Institute of Securities and Investments, which is a UK-based organization, which sets the standard for independent financial advisors' education. So those are all the reasons why people would do business with us. We are truly a global business and have offices on every continent. And you can see some of the jurisdictions presented on the screen. In South Africa, we have 4 offices, 2 in the Cape, one in Hanga, where I'm based, in Johannesburg, in Bryanston, and in Mauritius and Namibia as well, from an African perspective. Now, of course, if you want to get hold of us and set up an individual interaction, which is most certainly going to be important relative to what we discussed today, to find out what's the best way forward for yourselves, please feel free to interact with me via mail, via WhatsApp, or a direct phone call, or you can connect with me on LinkedIn. And for ease of use, all you need to do is open up your camera on your phone and scan the QR code that you see on the screen right now, and all my details will appear for you to save in your contacts. And so, thank you very much for your time listening to me. Without further ado, I'm going to pass over to Pablo. Pablo has established our Citizenship by Investment Division approximately 4 years ago. He has ensured that we have become a worldwide leader in the Portuguese program. We sell approximately 180 of these programs per annum, and the reason is solely pure due to the fact that of the relationships he has built, and certain exclusive arrangements that we have with the Portuguese government, and of course the certain developers which offer the appropriate developments suited to the program. So thank you. Over to you, Pablo.
Thank you, Romeo. Good afternoon from Dubai. Good morning to most of you that I believe are based in South Africa. Just checking that you can see my screen. Okay, so I've titled this. Excellent. All right. So I've titled this presentation Portugal Golden Visa Now or Never. And we're just going to present on the Portuguese Golden Visa program. As usual, when we were invited to attend this conference. However, the Prime Minister made some comments about 10 days ago when they're considering closing the Portuguese Golden Visa program. So that's the overall theme of the presentation, and we're going to discuss, or I'm going to speak for the next 20 to 25 minutes about who we are at Holborn Assets, even though Romeo's covered most of that. And discuss the Prime Minister's words and what that means to any new people looking to get their golden visas leading to citizenship. And then I'll just go through the program, the process, the benefits. I'll cover 2 of the real estate options that we handle, and then we'll open the floor up to Q&A. So please feel free to ask any questions on the chat box, on the Q&A box, and we'll cover all of that at the end of the presentation. Okay, so we are a one-stop shop for the Portuguese Golden Visa program. So our clients work with us. We work with the lawyers, the bank, the accountants, the developer, and the government on the client's behalf. So we take care of everything, and we make the process as smooth as possible to get the Golden Visa, and then after 5 years to get the citizenship. Okay, so what did the gentleman here on the right say 10 days ago at the Lisbon Web Summit? He mentioned that Portugal is likely to scrap the Golden Visa program because it's fulfilled its goal, which was to help with the unemployment that was happening after the financial crisis in 2011 and bridge the deficit. Portugal now boasts one of the fastest growing economies in Europe and full employment. So he's saying that it's fulfilled its goal and that they're looking to for it to come to a natural end. Now this happens a lot across different investment migration programs. Cyprus, for example, had a citizenship program a couple of years ago for around, I think, around 7 years, and then it closed down a couple of years ago. UK closed down their investor program. I know there were some people who were interested in investing into the UK to get a residency who are attending today, but unfortunately that's no longer an option. There is a startup, a technological innovator visa startup that is an option in the UK. But it's very, it has quite a narrow audience. So if you want to discuss that, then we can talk about that individually. The US, for example, this year increased their entry program, the investor program, from $500,000 to $800,000. Okay, and then you have to go and live in the US with a green card for the next 5 years if you want to get a passport. So. Programs do come to a natural end. Governments can close them pretty much whenever they fancy. And there's been a lot of pressure from the EU to close these programs for some time. So what do we know about how a change to a golden visa program can affect people in Portugal? So in 2020, they actually changed the law and it came into effect in 2021. And what happened was that they gave a 6-month deadline for anyone who wanted to apply under the current regime. And then after that, it would be the next regime. And essentially what happened is that they banned residential property from qualifying for golden visa investment in Lisbon, in Porto, in the Algarve. Okay, so currently we can only do commercial properties that qualify for golden visa. Okay, and so what that meant was that there was a race to submit the files before the change of the law, because once the law is changed, you know, it's the new law that applies, or if the golden visa program were to close, then it's closed. But as long as you apply before the deadline, then you're safe. And the government cannot take that back retroactively. So on average, you need around 4 months to submit an application for the golden visa, because we need to get tax numbers, open bank accounts, 2 powers of attorney, buy the property, and then apply for the golden visa. So the Prime Minister hasn't confirmed any dates yet. It'd be great if it was set in stone and we knew when the deadline was. But just based on what happened last year, we're managing 2 potential scenarios. And of course, we want to hope for the best, but also plan for the worst. The worst could be that they set a deadline, which would be June 2023. Which means the deadline for anyone considering applying for the Portuguese golden visa would be this February 2023. Another option could be that the deadline is December 2023, which means that the deadline to start applying would be in July 2023. So that's just a quick overview in terms of what's just happened in the last 10 days. Now, this slide is incredibly helpful because it compares all the programs that we work with, which are you know, globally. As Romeo said, we have 20 offices worldwide, and we cater all kinds of investors, whether South African are one of our top 3 nationalities, but we have Americans who are doing Portuguese golden visa. This year, they're the #1 nationality actually for Portuguese golden visa, which was unheard of before. But for different reasons, in South Africa, it's usually a plan B. In the US, there's some political reasons, the people, depending on which side you lie on, that you're looking to protect yourself against or get another option. And for Americans, Portugal is also the most popular program. So on this slide on the left, we've got the 9 passport programs that we work with, meaning that you can get a passport after making an investment, typically in 4 to 6 months. You can get a passport in most of these countries. And on the right, we have the residency programs where you get a residency card. It normally takes about a year to get these residency cards, although it depends on the country. Now, on the left, the first 6 countries, the Caribbean countries, which are good for a quick solution. They're good for a travel document. With one of these passports, you can travel to typically 140 to 150 countries visa-free. Okay, but that's really the main purpose of these passports. Okay, Malta is one option to get the EU passport. However, when you add all costs, it comes up to about €1 million donation. Okay, meaning that you don't see that money ever again. It's not an investment, it's money. That's the cost of the EU passport. Why is the EU passport so expensive? The reason is that it's not just really one passport, but rather 27 passports, or 27 countries where you could live, where you could work, where you could study, where you could retire. You could send your kids to Holland, to Ireland, to university, and also pay subsidized tuition fees, maybe 1,000, 2,000 euros per year, as opposed to in the UK where you're paying £30,000, or in the US where you're paying $50,000. And then Portugal's also got I think it's the 4th best passport in the world that lets you travel to 185 countries visa-free. So Malta's one route for the EU passport remotely. Okay, albeit a very expensive route. Montenegro and Turkey, they're not part of the EU, so we'll leave them out of the conversation for now. And then that leaves us the residency program. So what's truly unique about Portugal is that it's the only in South Africa and get a citizenship after 5 years without having to live in Portugal or in any of these countries. So for example, if you take this first row here, it says it takes 5 to 10 years for the residency to become a citizenship in all of these countries, okay? But the most important row is this one here, where it says physical stay time for citizenship, okay? Which means, or which says that in all of these countries, in the US, in Canada, in Australia, in Cyprus, anywhere, you need to go and live there for the next 5 to 10 years to be able to qualify for the passport. And you need to be a tax resident, meaning you have to spend 6 months per year in all of these countries. Portugal, the reason why Portugal is our most popular program is because it's the only one that you can do remotely. You don't have to go and live there if you don't want to. You can, if you like, but it's not necessary. All you have to do is make a qualifying investment, which starts at 280,000 euros into a property that qualifies for Golden Visa. Keep that property for the next 5 to 6 years, and then you can sell it in year 6 when you get your passports. And you don't have to go and live in Portugal. You just have to spend 5 weeks total in that 5-year period and have a basic level of Portuguese, which is the A2 language level. It's not intermediate, it's not advanced like in Greece, for example, or in Spain, where you need, a high level of Portuguese. It's an elementary level. And we also help with this. We recommend teachers who help with online classes, and typically takes a couple of months to get it done. So for that reason, we're going to focus on Portugal today, and that's why the Portuguese program stands out from every other program, because you can do it remotely, get an EU passport after 5 years. You don't spend 1 million euros. You get all of your money back, and you get EU passports for the whole family. So, in case you haven't been to Portugal, Portugal is a fantastic country. This is coming from a Spaniard. So I'm from Madrid in Spain. I feel like a bit of a traitor always promoting Portugal, but they do have a fantastic golden visa program. And for a number of reasons, Portugal stands out as a country. So it's voted as the most welcoming country for expats in the world, as per Internations, which is one of the largest expat networks worldwide. It's the third lowest, has the third lowest crime rate in the world. Or it's the third most peaceful country in the world, which I know is of great importance in South Africa. For 3 years in a row, it's been voted the best retirement destination in the world. It's an equally beautiful country, or has a great coastline, just like South Africa does. Portugal has it as well. It has the lowest cost of living in Western Europe, which is also an important factor when approaching retirement. And the south of Portugal has 330 sunny days per year. So it really is, for a number of reasons, great food, great wine. So it ticks a lot of boxes, and hence why for 3 years in a row, it's one of the best retirement destinations. Portugal also has another regime which is completely separate to the golden visa, which is called the non-habitual tax regime. And what that is, it's a discount in taxes for 10 years on any worldwide income. So if you have a pension, and there's a double taxation treaty between Portugal and South Africa, instead of paying, I don't know, 30 to 40% on the pension, depending on what structure you have, you could lower that income tax to 0%, 5%, depending on the structure. So this alone has brought over 500,000 people over the last 10 years, when it was introduced, mainly from Europe, to come and live in Portugal. Okay, so it's huge, considering that Portugal only has a population of around 10 million people, or now close to 11 million people. So that's a huge incentive for people to come and live in Portugal, and pretty much double their income and also their purchasing power. Another very important reason, Portugal boasts the 12th best public healthcare system in the world, which is free for all residents and citizens. So you can be treated for cancer, heart attack, stroke, for anything for free. And I'm told it's the equivalent to a good private insurance in South Africa. Okay. So finally, it also boasts one of the best education systems in the world, which is again free for all residents and citizens. Now, the Portuguese program has been going since 2012. It's a very tried and tested program. There's now over 11,000 families who've been approved and close to 30,000 people. And people started getting their citizenships in 2018 without having to live in Portugal. Okay, so it's been going around for a number of years, and there's plenty of track record of people already getting their passports as long as they met the two conditions that I mentioned earlier. And pretty much as long as the investor doesn't have a criminal record, he can apply and get the golden visa and include his spouse or her spouse, parents on both sides, and kids. Okay, so it takes about 12 months to get the golden visa, okay, and we assist throughout that process. There's one trip that's needed normally towards the end of that, so around month 11, month 12, to do the biometrics, okay, so it takes about half a day. Our lawyers that accompany our clients to do it, fingerprints, photographs, and that's it. The golden visa cards are issued, and then they're valid for 2 years. So in year 2 and in year 4, the investor and their family should renew their golden visa cards. Again, it's just an admin formality, and this is when we recommend they do 2 weeks holiday in year 2, 3 weeks holiday in year 4. So then when we apply for the passport in year 5, they've already got the 5 weeks that are necessary in terms of physical stay, and also the A2 language level, and then we apply for the passport, and then it is obtained. Now, for the first 5 years, these are the benefits that are available to the investor and their family. If they wanted to, they could go and live and work in Portugal. Working is an important benefit that a lot of the other, for example, Mediterranean countries with golden visas don't offer, that you can start a business, but you can't necessarily work. And but then you can also carry on, living in South Africa. From most of our South African clients, a lot of them ideally want to carry on living in South Africa, but it's good to have that plan B sorted out and be able to go and live in Portugal, retire, for the kids to have EU passports later on. So as an investor with the golden visa program, you never have to get a golden visa ever, a Schengen visa ever again, because you have unlimited access to Europe. You could open up a business anywhere in Schengen. You could qualify for the 10-year discount in taxes if you move to Portugal and made that your main residence, and then access the healthcare, education, and also you can contribute onto a state pension and have a pension at retirement. This beautiful city is Porto, by the way. If you haven't been, I thoroughly recommend it. And then, in year 5, once we obtain the passports for our clients, based on these two conditions, as we said earlier, the 5-week physical stay, the A2 language level, clients will have the 4th best passport in the world that lets them travel to anywhere in green, visa-free, and anywhere in blue is where they could live, work, study, retire, etc., etc. Okay, so that's in terms of the process and how that all works. Now, in terms of the qualifying investments, there's a few different routes to get the golden visa. I'm going to focus on real estate on my next slide, because there's a lot to talk about that, and that's pretty much what everyone does, the most popular way or the route. There's other routes. You can donate 250,000 euros, but I think one person has done that in the last 10 years. You can invest into a venture capital or private equity fund, but these are usually a 10-year exit strategy, and they're usually quite young funds that only started a couple of years ago. And then the other routes are to create a company and employ 10 people for 6 years, but you need to employ them and pay them a minimum wage. So that's like a 600,000 euro liability. So not too popular either. And then you could block 1.5 million euros in a bank account for 6 years. but then you could also block that into real estate for 280,000 euros. So that's usually what people end up doing. Now, in terms of the real estate, so the law changed this year, as I mentioned before, on the 1st of January. And what the government did was they banned residential property from qualifying for Golden Visa in Lisbon, in Porto, and in the Algarve, i.e. the main key cities and best areas for real estate. So residential is available in the rural areas, but we don't really look at that as a wealth management company. It doesn't really make sense from an investment point of view. So we're focused still on Lisbon, on Porto, on the Algarve, but it has to be commercial. So what is commercial? Offices, retail, hotels, and apartment hotels. And apartment hotels, service apartments, touristic apartments, that's what where the demand is, that's what our clients want. So we're focused on finding these properties. Now, we currently have around 8 properties in our portfolio, and a lot of them are the best in the category. You see here that there are a few different categories. Romeo touched on it earlier. We did last year, we did 130 Portuguese golden visas, considering there was only about 1,000 something done worldwide. We are the market leader when it comes to the Portuguese golden visa. And this year we're on target to do around 180. So the reason for that is we have exclusivity, and I'm going to touch on 2 properties today, one at the €500,000 level and one at the 280,000 euro level, which are the best in their category. I met with 25 different developers, and they really are a great deal. Now, there's basically 2 categories of real estate. Category 1 is if you buy a commercial property in Lisbon and Porto, the minimum investment is €500,000. And in the Algarve, that drops down to 400,000 euros by law. The second category is if you refurbish a building that's 30 years or older, that drops from 500,000 to 350,000 euros. And in the case of the Algarve, down to 280,000 euros. Okay. Now, when they introduced this category in 2016, it pretty much became like a golden visa product, right? Whereby a developer would buy an old building, sell it to golden visa investors at 280,000 euros. Included in the price, it would be 20,000 euro to do the refurbishment. They would then refurbish it for the next couple of years and then rent it out from years, let's say 3 to 6, and a lot of times offer a buyback, meaning that the investor would get their money back in year 6 when they get their passports. Okay, so usually the investments in the second category don't yield as good returns as in the first category, because they are refurbishments of old buildings. However, you are reducing how much you're spending considerably. So most clients actually tend to go for the lower investment option, even the investment isn't necessarily as good. But we have plenty of other clients that go for other options. So we have all of them. So I'll start with the new build, the €500,000 investment option. So this property is called the Royal Óbidos Golf and Spa Resort. It's 45 minutes north of Lisbon. And it's a fully operational resort, which launched in 2021. And here you see there's the 5-star hotel, and then there's the hotel apartments, which is what we're selling. The studios are pretty much sold out. We've sold, I think there's 5 left out of 64. And then the 1 bedrooms we still have, and that's what we're selling at the moment, and it's doing very well. What's particularly interesting about this product, let's say, is that the rental return for the entire 5 years is paid upfront, meaning that the investor gets 35% rental return paid upfront, and they can use this return to actually buy the property in the first place. So 35% after tax becomes 25% or 26%. So effectively, the investor has 2 options. They can either buy the property for €500,000, the 1 bedroom, 88 square meters in this 5-star resort, and get then 131,000 euros cash, or they can just use 368,000 euros of their capital and then use the other 132,000 euros to reach the €500,000 level and then buy the property at €500,000. Okay, so for that reason, because it's fully built, you're getting the rental up front, and additionally there's an optional buyback whereby the investor can choose in year 4 if they want the developer to buy them back in year 6 at the original price of €500,000, or they can say no thank you, they can keep it, they can carry on renting it out, or they can sell it and make the upside. Additionally, the investor and the family can stay there for 6 weeks per year for free, which is pretty good in this kind of nomad world, where you can work remotely maybe from Óbidos, which is located in a really nice area. There's another 4 5-star resorts in the area. There's a Marriott, there's West Cliffs, there's Bon Sucesso Resort. There's all 5-star resorts in the area. And all the 1-beds have a golf view and a sea view. For anyone who likes playing golf, the golf course is where the Portuguese Open is played. It was designed by Severiano Ballesteros, and every year, everyone comes to the golf course. But also all throughout the year, people are coming to spend time in this area. These are just pictures of what the apartments look from behind, and here would be the inside of the 1-bedroom apartments. Finally, the costs of this project. Normally, because you have to spend €500,000, and sometimes usually the price is above that, 550 or 600, and then you have to add taxes. So usually it's coming to about 600 or 700,000 euros capital outlay on any investment option at the €500,000 category. Here, because the rental is paid up front for the entire 5 years, this rental return of €131,000 covers all the costs, the legal fees, the taxes, the costs applied to the government, and actually leaves clients at a positive of €77,000 on day 1 since when they obtain the golden visa. And then in year 6, the buyback, if clients opt to take it, is at that €500,000 level. Okay, so this is our option at the €500,000 level. For investors who aren't so worried about making the best real estate investment they just want to get the golden visa for the family and use as little capital as possible, this option is the most attractive one at the €280,000 category. Why? Because clients actually get a title deed of their apartment, and in this category, most of the time the investor only has a share of the building, right? So they don't actually own a unit. Here, the investor owns a unit. In fact, they're in 2 studios of 26 square meters each. And these are pictures of what the project looks like today. It's literally just closed for refurbishment about a week ago. And the prices are between 280 to 295,000 if it faces the pool or it faces the back. And for the first 2 years here, the property is being refurbished, so there isn't a rental return. So then investors get 4 out of 6 years rental return, out of which those 3 of them is paid up front, as I'll explain now in the cost side of things. And then it's the same optional buyback as with the Óbidos project. The investor can choose in year 4 if they want to go ahead with the buyback in year 6 at the original price of 280, or if they want to keep the property and carry on keeping it as a income generating asset. These are real pictures of what the property is like now, and it's going to undergo renovations, and it's going to become full 4-star resort with lots of sporting facilities like tennis courts, volleyball courts, new pool, bar, and restaurants. And they'll do the interior pool and refurbish all the interiors as well. So this is the most cost-effective way to get the golden visa done. The full capital outlay to get the golden visa is €297,000. We didn't touch on the fact that the euro is 20% cheaper than it was last year. So that is, that is great news overall. I don't know how it's fared against the rand, but yeah, anyone who has maybe money in dollars or even in rand, you're looking at doing it a lot cheaper than it was last year. So here, the taxes are paid by the developer. So roughly, the developer pays 20,000 euros in taxes on behalf of the client, instead of paying rents in year 3, 4, and 5. The developer pays it upfront to the government, and thus lowering the capital required to get the golden visa. So that's it from me. We'll I think leave over to Louise now for the Q&A, and yeah, happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Romeo. Thank you, Pablo. Appreciate all that information. Sorry, can I just ask you to go back a slide? So you said that the developer covers the costs of the taxes by not paying the rental income for year 3, 4, and 5. So what does that mean for year 1 and 2?
So years 1 and 2, the property has to undergo refurbishment. So there is no rental. That's all the projects in that category don't have a rental in the first couple of years. And then from years 3 to 6 onwards, most properties would pay, the rental, after the year's finished. This developer for 3 years, so years 3, 4, and 5, they'll pay it up front, which is obviously a benefit to the client, because you'd rather have money today than, in years 3, 4, and 5. And thus it lowers the capital required. And then from year 6 onwards, clients can expect to make 4 to 5% annually on that asset.
So therefore, do you have the option to sell the unit at the end of year 4? Sorry.
You should keep it. So at the end of year 4, you decide whether you want to go ahead with the buyback in year 6 or if you don't. So you should keep at least for 6 years, because that's when you're going to get your passports, right? So once you've got your passports, typically that's when people enforce the buyback or sell it on the open market, get the money back, and then maybe buy a house to live in, or something else, or they can keep it and keep generating income.
And sorry, last question around this product: do you have access to, once it's the furnishing, once it's designed and it's operational and it's open for business, do you have access to a unit, or are you, is that access paid for?
Yeah, so as part of the rental management agreement, the investor and his family can stay for 2 weeks per year in the off-peak season, and then 1 week in the peak season. If it's July and August, you have to pay 50% of the price on booking.com. If it's June or September, then you can stay there for 1 week for free.
Yeah. And maybe just a little bit of a silly question, I'm not sure. If you're buying into a hotel which is being refurbished and you've purchased this unit, basically, should the hotel require future work during the timeline that you still have ownership? So in the 6 years that you have ownership, for example, and there is any additional work, is that something that could become a cost to the investor, or does the developer carry all of any costs to the common property, if you can call it like that?
Yeah, that's a good question. So that's all covered in the rental management agreement, and anything to do with maintenance, furniture, anything like that. The landlord has no responsibility. It's always the tenant. The tenant in this case is the hotel management entity, and they're the ones who are going to manage it for the next 10 years, and they're fully responsible for all of that.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit, if we go off the 2 particular products and talk a bit more about Portugal. So one of the questions, I actually posted it in the group right at the beginning of this chat, was around Portugal, looking at Portugal from a cost of living, language barrier, schools, opportunities to invest in businesses or open your own business. Maybe you could talk to that landscape. So the slightly more practical process, and I know that you don't necessarily have to live in Portugal to qualify for these programs, but should you choose to live there, what could you expect?
Well, it depends the area that you choose to move to. You could go into the mountains or more rural area, and then, it is mainly just Portuguese that is spoken. But as long as you move to the Algarve in the south, or to Lisbon or to Porto, you'll find that 70% of the population speaks English. There are some fantastic international schools in all of these areas. If you live in or choose to live in the around Lisbon area, usually around Cascais, Sintra, there's a lot of expats who are based there, and then in the Algarve, there's plenty of expats anywhere. I think the healthcare is one of the main reasons a lot of people choose to go there as well. It's healthcare, particularly as we get older, can be incredibly expensive. And we see that in the United States, it's nearly ridiculous. So on contrast, in Portugal, it's a lot more balanced, and the elderly are well taken care of. And in terms of cost of living, as I touched on earlier, it has the lowest cost of living in Western Europe. Right, so if you're looking at Spain, looking at Italy, looking at France, UK, Belgium, Holland, all these countries, when they go to Portugal, they find that a lot less expensive than their home countries. So, And also, to be honest, I don't think you meet many people, or I haven't met any, that go to Portugal and don't like it. It really is a place where everyone seems to really, really like. So,
okay. So from a practical point of view, if your investment is going to be going into a hotel investment so that you can still get prime real estate, if you choose to live in Portugal, so you would like to move your family, maybe your children are wanting to study at university and you move the family, or you're retiring and you move the family, what is the options for you then? So do you advise your clients to perhaps rent until such time as they can, get their investment out, if you can say, and then get their visas and citizenship in place and then purchase a unit? What's the kind of advice how would you steer your client?
Yeah, I mean, look, ideally, most people, if they're going to move to Portugal, they like to buy a property where they can live in and qualifies them for the golden visa. That's no longer possible to marry those objectives because residential doesn't qualify for golden visa. So it has to be commercial, has to be an apartment hotel, and those are rented out to tourists. So if you're looking to move to Portugal, then you have to rent, or you can buy a different property once you've gotten used to the area. These properties have a very specific use, which is to get the golden visa, and you can't actually live in them. They're just income generating assets. So a lot of times it's actually easier to make a decision, because if you're going to go and live there, you need to see the area, see the neighborhood, see all these different things. Here, these have a very specific purpose. And then in year 6, when you get your passport, most people would sell them, whether it's via the buyback or on the open market, and then you can buy a property, and it could be Portugal where you want to live in, but you could go and live in Spain, right? Or if you prefer, you could go and live in, I don't know, Italy, where Romeo is from, right? In the south of Italy, where things are very nice as well. So in year 6, then you've got all the options, right? You've got 27 countries to choose to live in. So yeah, that's how that works.
And just to talk to you a little bit about the financial processes of purchasing into this type of scheme. So, are you able to leverage financing in any shape or form, and things like if the property price exceeds 10 million rand, how do you manage, with the Reserve Bank and the restrictions on how much money you can take out the country, etc. So what role would you play in that process?
Yeah, so Romy and I, we've got a lot of experience in helping clients with getting their tax clearances down in South Africa. We've done that for many different people. We can use the husbands, we can use the wives, we can use the kids. There's many ways to do it. Most of the time, the 10 million allowance is more than enough. to do the process. So we've never not been able to do it. And in terms of financing it, you can get a personal loan, for example, in South Africa, and then use that money to buy the property in Portugal. But the title deed in Portugal should be unencumbered. There shouldn't be a mortgage attached to it, at least for that minimum amount required by law. So, for example, if you're buying a €1 million property, you can actually finance $500,000 because it's above the minimum required by law. So that is possible. But usually, or for example, in the Obidos project, you actually buy 2 properties if you wanted to for the same price, because as long as you use $500,000 of your money, you can finance the remaining $500,000.
And you would walk through that process with the client as well. Okay. Yeah. And so from the get-go, the client can contact you, or, we can contact you and say, okay, this is what we're interested in doing. This is our budget allocated and this is, we can stagger the allocation of money over a period of time. Would you then set sort of a course for the client I mean, I'm sure lots of people on this webinar might have 5 million rand, in their bank account, but say others don't. They're selling properties, whatever they're doing to raise that capital. So if they identify a unit tomorrow, but require a timeline to raise capital, is that acceptable? Or is this an environment where you put your name down, you put your deposit down, and because it's built already, you need to be able to have that full capital, that balance available immediately?
Yeah, so in order to buy the property in Portugal, it normally takes about 3 to 4 months anyway of preparation, because we need to get tax numbers in Portugal. We have to open a bank account, which takes time. We need to do the powers of attorney. And then that's when the investor would send the money. So usually that's in month 3 or month 4 from the start. At the start, what happens is the investor usually puts down 10,000 euros to reserve the property, and then we start working on the application. In that period, the investor can, sell either property or sell stocks, or however they're financing the property. And meanwhile, we're assisting to get the police clearance certificates as well in South Africa. We're assisting to get the tax clearances in that 3 to 4 month period until when the capital is required. If it's 3 months, if it's 4 months, if it's 5 months, it's okay. And the developer, we're all very used to doing this because people move money from everywhere in the world, and it's a lot of times it's very difficult to move money from, for example, from Egypt, or to move money from China. So every country has different requirements, and South Africa's actually aren't too bad compared to a lot of other countries.
Okay, super. We touched very, very, very briefly on, you mentioned the UK. I know that was a few of our members of listening today were interested in the UK as an option. Maybe you can just give me a quick summary of what those options are. And you said it's a technology visa, is that correct? A technology investment.
Yeah, so it's called the innovator visa in the UK. So it's essentially a startup visa where the investor should go and live in the UK with his or her family, and essentially create a new technological advancement in a specific business, or have an idea. So they have to create a business plan, and they have to go then and manage that business for the next 5 to 6 years. So it's as I said, it doesn't have a huge audience. It's something quite specific that maybe for some people it would work well. But it's definitely not as simple as making a real estate investment, because then you're going to get it. Here, you can do the business plan, and then maybe it doesn't qualify, right? So it's we've done some, but few. Let's say we also used to do the £2 million investment in equities or bonds, which was a bit more straightforward. Obviously, you have to come up with 2 million, which not everybody has, but it was to make the investment, you get the visa. In this case, it's a little trickier from an admin point of view, and planning, and you have to have a technological advancement that the UK governments feel that it's worth the trouble, let's say.
Okay, great. Sorry, just a last question, just as you said something there, just sparked my thinking. So if you do start this process and you put your 10,000 euros down, you start the process, and for any reason, whatever that might be, your application is denied, is any investment that you've made refundable?
Yeah, it's a good question. So with our lawyers, we've done over 1,000 applications in Portugal, and we got 100% success rate, right? The government itself has 97% success rate. So the government sets the law, and as long as you buy the property, you're going to get it, unless you have a criminal record or you have an ongoing Schengen visa rejection. So we check these things before we onboard our clients. So we do the due diligence reports, so we know that our clients are going to be accepted in Portugal. And we actually include 2 clauses in the agreement. One which is as long as the client confirms in writing that they don't hold a visa rejection or a criminal record, the developer can refund the client the full value of the property should the property or the application be rejected for reasons out of control of the client. So we got refund clauses from the developer because it's a no-brainer. It's really not an issue. And we also have another clause, which is if Portugal decided to close the program tomorrow, all monies could also be refunded to the client, right? And this is not expected, right? But governments sometimes do weird things. Those 2 clauses protect and safeguard the client, making sure that if for whatever reason they don't get it or the program closes down, that they don't lose any money.
And and then obviously for a lot of our audience, they would want to be coming across with themselves if they choose to live there and their family members. So this program would be, it would be your primary registration. So whoever, the one parent 1 and parent 2, the children. Does it extend to aunts, uncles, grandparents?
No, it has to be unless they're dependent. So it could be like a dependent, brother or sister who has a medical condition, something like that possible. But usually it's just one generation up, one generation down. And for kids under 18, there's no issues; they can be included. Kids over 18, that's fine as well, but they need to prove dependency on the main applicant. So we can usually do this until kids are 25, 26, that we can include them in the applications as long as we can show proof of enrollment into an academic institution and proof of payment from the parents paying for the kids' university, let's say. And then for parents, we can include on the mother's side, on the father's side, or even same-sex marriages. It can be parents on everyone's side. And as long as they're above 65, that's fine. If they're under 65 but above 55, we again have to prove some dependency on the main applicant.
Okay, and then just regarding the status of the relationship of the main applicants. So it's either they can be either traditionally married, but do you accept life partners and other sort of less traditional marriage structures?
Yes. Yeah, so and they don't even have to be married. It can be an unmarried partnership as well. So it's very open and tolerant. As long as you can prove you've been, say, living together for 2 years, you can include an unmarried partner as well as in the application. And it's again very popular in the US for same-sex marriages or unmarried partnerships to get the Portuguese golden visa. In the US, I mean, I touched on that earlier. That there's just whether it's a shooting that people decide to get a plan B, whether it's the abortion laws, whether it's what side of the political spectrum you fall on. There's so many different reasons that people decide to do it, and it's really been quite a surprise that there's so many US applicants now.
Yeah.
For Portugal.
Absolutely. I must be honest. I am also surprised that here we are spending 800,000 USD trying to get into America and they're trying to get out. Hilarious. So thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much, Romeo. That was an extremely insightful presentation. And I think that it's made for many of us that have listened, and for those that will be receiving the recording, I'm sure there's a number of questions that you would like to ask. Please, folks, feel free to contact myself or the team. We have their details will be shared when this link is sent out with the video. And I hope that this has taken, those of you who've watched the webinar today, though, has helped you take a step closer to your decision. I have to be honest, whenever I see the photos of Portugal, and it does look idyllic. It's very beautiful. It's got that kind of coast and, old kind of, established society and beautiful art. And, it really does look like a beautiful location to move to. And so thank you so much for sharing that information with us.